America, the land of the free and the home of more serial killers than anywhere else in modern history. From the 1970s through the 1990s, the U.S. saw an explosion of serial murder, a dark legacy that earned its own chapter in criminal history. In 1974, there were 104 active serial killers operating across the country. By 1984, that number had risen to 147. A decade later, in 1994, which was the year Cassandra was born, the peak was at 151. And while those numbers have dropped since then, the FBI estimates that there are still 25 to 50 active serial killers in the United States right now. And today we're going to talk about two potential serial killers that we know of that are active in Texas and in New England. Hi, I'm Natasha, and this is Strange Sisters. And today I am doing a solo episode because Cassandra is sick. If you know Cassandra, that is not unusual to you. Um, Hopefully she's on the mend, but yeah, she just wasn't feeling up to recording this week. I am also recuperating from being sick. I don't know, it must just be that like back to school time of year, even though I don't even have kids, where everyone is getting sick. And yeah, so hopefully everyone is doing okay that's listening. And don't forget to drink lots of fluids because that's gets really scary when you get dehydrated and you're sick. So, not a ton to share before we get into this. Um, oh, I am reading House of Leaves right now. If you're a horror fan, you've probably heard of this book. Everyone is always saying it's so good, it's so good. It's always like a highly recommended horror novel. So I finally went ahead and bought it. I got this really cool version that's like all in color, which is pretty cool. I usually get books from the library, but they did not have it. So I don't know if that means it's more of like a underground horror book, but all these like Facebook sounds so old. All these Facebook groups I'm in on like horror books and stuff always super recommend it. So went ahead and got that and I just started it. It's pretty good so far. Um yeah, that's all I got. I've just been sick, so I don't have a ton to update you on. So I guess we'll just go ahead and jump into the cases. And so like I mentioned, the number of serial killers has significantly decreased since the 90s, so that's great. But 25 to 50 is still a lot, in my opinion. I mean, I know our country is quite large, but that's still, a significant amount. But that is a third of what it was, right, in 1994. So, what changed and where did they go? Criminologist Dr. Greg Broberg thinks that the internet might be to blame, or think. In his words, the wide use of the internet has made it much more difficult for serial killers to stay hidden. So that totally makes sense, right? We've got Reddit, we've got local news that post everything online, we've got social media. So there's just a greater way of getting this information out to the public. And technology, and especially social media, has given everyday people eyes and ears in every neighborhood. News that used to stay local now spreads at the speed of a share button. So, you've got people on TikTok and you're just scrolling through and there's someone in Ohio that's live streaming like this murder that just happened, and you're all the way in California and you're like, oh wow. Or if you guys have a Ring camera, then the Ring community is always popping off with like every little thing that happens in the neighborhood. Yeah, it's just, we're very connected, which can be kind of scary, but I think it's always better to be informed, but it definitely does increase your anxiety. So it makes it a little bit harder to sleep at night, I think, for a lot of people. And in fact, TikTok is how I learned about both of these cases that we're diving into today. These are both unfolding stories that some say signal the return of the American serial killer, which is like, great, that's just what we need. Don't have enough going on. We got some serial killers on the loose. So, whether that's true or just public paranoia, well, that's what we're here to discuss. So let's start in the heart of Texas. And this person, I'm assuming, I always want to say it's a guy, but could be a woman, I don't know. And since 2022, 38 bodies have been pulled from Lady Bird Lake in Austin, Texas. Yes, you heard that right. 38 from the same lake. Most of them have been men, aged 30 to 49, and many were last seen enjoying a night out near Rainy Street, which is a bustling strip packed with bars, music, and nightlife, so hence Rainy Street Ripper, which is actually kind of a cool name, to be honest. And the authorities insist these deaths are not connected. They say the causes range from accidental drowning to drug overdoses and even natural causes, which I'm like, what is a natural cause that you end up in a lake? Like you have a heart attack and you're in the lake? I mean, how could that really happen and how frequently could that really happen? In fact, only one of these cases has been ruled a homicide and 6 remain undetermined. Okay. So the locals, though, they feel something is off and they're not buying this police cover up, you might say. So the nickname, the Rainy Street Ripper, has taken hold online, probably because it sounds pretty cool, and especially among Austin residents who believe the pattern is too consistent to be a coincidence, which I totally agree. Officials argue the real culprits are environmental, steep drop-offs along the water, poor lighting, and heavy drinking. Okay, fair. You probably shouldn't have a lake in the middle of this area with no like guardrails or anything. I mean, maybe people are climbing over guardrails. I don't know. I've never been there. But sure, that does make sense. So in response, the city has spent nearly $1 million on safety upgrades, including fencing, lighting, cameras, and increased patrol. So that's great. That's all great. But stories like Jeff Jones only fuel the fire. Jones, 39, was in Austin for a bachelor party when he woke up under a bridge with benzodiazepines in his system. So that is like Rohypnol, which is commonly known as a date rape drug. He believes he narrowly escaped an attack by whoever or whatever is stalking the streets near Lady Bird Lake, which I like the idea that this is a ghost with a vengeance. Not people died and that's terrible, but vengeance ghosts is maybe a little less scary than a serial killer. I don't know. Maybe not. And so he said, I just got lucky. Not many people can say they potentially survived a serial killer, which he told the press. Whoever they may be just missed the target and I hit the ground. And luckily, because of that, I didn't drown. So it sounds like he was at the top on a bridge and apparently he was pushed over and he just missed the water. Yeah. So that kind of lends to the idea that someone is drugging these men and then pushing them over bridges or pushing them into the water. Jones was discovered unconscious beneath the West 6th Street Bridge, which spans Shoal Creek before it flows into the Colorado River. And just to note, this is not the Colorado River that's in like Colorado, Arizona. This is a different river in Texas. It just has the same name. So what's really happening in Austin? Because that's a crazy story. And some people are saying it's just a tragic mix of like poor safety and bad luck, or is there something darker slipping through the cracks? And to me, it seems like there's something much darker going on there. I mean, 38 people, most of them are men. This man who potentially survived this person had benzodiazepine in his system. I mean, it sounds like somebody is slipping Rohypnols into people's drinks and then pushing them over into the water. And maybe some of them hit their head, and maybe that's like the natural cause, and some of them drown, which it's being ruled as an accidental drowning because they had alcohol in their system. So it kind of seems like a perfect way to get away with a crime. And I think men are probably less aware of their surroundings when they have drinks. I think women are more like always kind of looking out because they know how commonly and how easy it is to get drugged. But men kind of maybe have this false sense of security and so, maybe it is a woman. Maybe it's a woman. Maybe it's a woman ghost that somehow has Rohypnol. I don't know. But there is definitely something fishy going on there. And so now we're going to turn our focus to the New England serial killer, which a lot of you probably heard of earlier this year. And they've also had a chilling series of deaths. Since March of 2025, at least 13 bodies have been discovered across Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Maine, also known as the Northeast. Many were found in wooded or remote areas, and the cause of death is all over the map, from dismemberments to mysterious unattended deaths, which I don't really know what that means, but I guess it means no one was there to understand what the cause of death was. And so, is it a single killer? Is it a group of people? Or is it just a brutal uptick in violence that's fueled by growing social unrest? I mean, March 2025, I think a lot of us were stressed at that time. It also made a lot of things that I don't believe are acceptable, people feel are more acceptable because of who is in office. And so who knows? This is another one where we just unfortunately have to kind of wait and see how this all plays out. And theories abound, right? Some point to the smiley face killer theory, which is like a very old theory. Um, I'm not sure how that person could still be active at this point. On a side note, there is a series called The Smiley Face Killer, which I thought was actually pretty good. I think it's on Hulu, which I guess is related. I don't know if they just took the name because I think it was in a different part of the country, but it was a pretty good series. And others believe that there may be a truck driver moving along the interstate highways, dumping victims along their route, because many of the bodies were found just off major roads in wooded areas. So to me, that makes sense. That's a relatively small area. And so a truck driver, even though trucks are monitored, right? Now it's not like you can kind of get away with things, but still, if you're just saying, oh, I had to pull off to take a break or I had to pull off for a pee break or something, they're not going to really know unless there's cameras on the truck that are continuously rolling, which I don't know that all of them are. Maybe if they're privately owned, I don't know. So that's definitely a possibility. But despite mounting public suspicion, police departments continue to investigate the cases individually because these are all happening in different areas. So I think that's a good way, and I hate to say this, for a serial killer to get away with things for a longer period of time because you have all these different agencies that are independently investigating things, so maybe they're not working together to see patterns. Then you can kind of keep doing what you're doing and you might not get caught for quite a long time. And district attorneys have pushed back against the serial killer narrative. They're saying without hard forensic links between the cases, they warn that speculation could derail active investigations and stir up unnecessary fear, which, sure, of course, that's absolutely true. But the volume, the timing, the pattern, it's kind of hard to ignore. Could this be a case where there's escalation? Could this be a case where it's multiple people? Truck drivers don't always drive by themselves. So who knows? Unfortunately, I think time will tell, but hopefully not that many more people will lose their lives before this person or people are caught. And so is America seeing the rise of a new generation of serial killers? Or is this just a case of pattern-seeking minds desperate for answers in a chaotic world? Which definitely could be true as well. Thank you for tuning in to this very brief episode of Strange Sisters. If you enjoyed this, please give us a like, share, follow, all those things. It really helps us push our show out, and we will definitely be providing updates on these cases as they come. So if you want to hear the updates, make sure you subscribe, and then you'll see whenever we have updates, which hopefully the next update will be serial killer captured and not more people found deceased. So stay strange, and if you find yourself near the water late at night, maybe think twice.